Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. John Kelly Profiler here, and welcome. Welcome to a very, very sad case that we're reviewing. The death of Gabby Petito. And today we're going to be looking at signs of Brian Laundrie's death. I think you'll find this pretty interesting. To all Gabby's friends and family, we want to send our sincere and genuine condolences. Very hard to see such a beautiful, young, and vivacious girl end up tragically murdered at her age. Also, too, a lot of people are asking, John Kelly, how did you become a profiler? This is my condensed book so people could find out and people could read about the good, the bad, and the ugly of John Kelly Profiler. So it's available wherever fine books are sold. Thank you very much. You know, when we're looking at Gabby's murder, you know, you have to ask yourself, why did they not talk about how Gabby was found? Okay, Gabby's found. Not a whole lot of information on that. Somebody's written somewhere, Gabby was found in a creek bed. And pretty much that was it. I suspect law enforcement doesn't want a whole lot of information out on that because they wanted to question the murderer. And the only one that knows for sure is the murderer. Where Gabby was put, where Gabby's body, I hate to say it, was dumped. But that's exactly what happened here. What bothers me, and I find it interesting, is that Gabby's body was not buried. You know, a lot of these guys are thinking out of sight, out of mind. So, you know, you bury a body, it's much harder to find, right? But Gabby's body doesn't seem to have been buried. Gabby's body seems to have been in a creek bed or near the creek bed. Not exactly sure, but I have some ideas about that. And I think it's worth having a conversation about that. So the killer can definitely be identified at some point. When you dump a body or put a body alongside a creek or in a creek bed, usually you're doing that to get rid of DNA. And lots of times, you know, the killer will put the body into the water, submerge the body in water, hoping to contaminate or get rid of the DNA that's there. Now, in the Atlantic City case we worked, we had 4 sex workers that were murdered and were laying in water in a drainage ditch, and their arms were cast right out into the water. And that could mean a couple things. There could have been religious reasons for that, or it could have been simply to get rid of DNA. So water will help get rid of DNA, and in a lot of cases, it can help erode a body, depending on the temperature of the water, of course. But also, too, being in a creek up in that particular area has me wondering about predation. And predation, is, you know, having a body in a place where other animals are going to be. And this way, the body decomposes through predation and through the elements. And over a period of time, there's not much left of the body. And if it's a long period of time, you might be left with just bones. So whoever killed Gabby, I'm sure was thinking in this direction. And of course, I go back to why not bury Gabby's body out of sight, out of mind? Well, the problem I have with that is, from what I hear, that ground up there is extremely rock, as in really rock hard, because of that particular area and how rocky it is underneath the soil. So it's almost impossible to dig. It's very, very hard to dig at the very least. So that could be another reason why Gabby was not buried and she was just laid out in a creek bed. That's what I'm thinking. Now to jump back to, signs of Brian's death, okay? Because everybody's trying to figure out how Brian died, okay? And something I'm looking at is suicide. Did he commit suicide? Well, the coroner at this point has no proof that Brian committed suicide because they're looking for physical signs. However, let's look at behavioral signs, okay, of people that commit suicide. And while we're looking at that, we have to look at depression, because usually most people that commit suicide are depressed for one reason or another. And something that jumped out at me, and I got this from the Cleveland Clinic article, an article Cleveland Clinic did on suicide, is a recent life crisis, depression that is caused by a recent life crisis. Okay? Interesting. And then there are other factors that increase suicide risk as well. And I just want to go over these with you for the sake of conversation. Again, the power is in the question. You guys have a lot to say on this. And, 2 heads are better than 1, and 100 heads are better than 2. Okay? So factors that increase suicide: does the person have a mental condition? Is there any legal problems that are so distressing it could cause a person to commit suicide? Here's an interesting one. Does the person have violent and impulsive behavior? I think that's very interesting. Has the person recently lost a relationship through a breakup or through a death? Is the person socially isolated? Sound like anybody we might know? Are they experiencing a recent life trauma? Are they in a state of despair? For instance, do they have really hard or strong unresolved legal problems? Other signs, not from the Cleveland Clinic. Signs that I usually focus on, behavioral signs, when working a case. The person start to give possessions away. And I see this more with younger people, where they made up their mind they're going to kill themselves, they're going to commit suicide, so they start to give things away. So I'm just wondering if Brian was giving any of his things away. Older people will do that when they feel they're going to commit suicide. They feel they don't want to live anymore because they have a chronic health condition or whatever, and they start to make out their will and make sure everything's secured and they've gotten all their business taken care of. But younger people start to physically give things away. Also, what I found very interesting since pretty much the beginning of the internet, searches online for ways to commit suicide. Okay? Did Brian do any searching online on how to commit suicide? A lot of younger people do this. A lot of younger people that grew up with the internet, they search online different ways to commit suicide because they're thinking about how they're going to do it. Then something we always look for, and in more cases than not, we do not find it, is if the person leaves a letter behind giving their goodbyes and why they don't want to live anymore. So we always look for that letter, but I got to tell you, it's not there as many times as you think it would be. For whatever reason, lots of times suicide can be very impulsive, and people don't take the time to write a letter. So anyway, that's my 2 cents for today. We're going to keep looking at this and analyzing this case and analyzing, the death of Gabby. And we're going to be analyzing the death of Brian as well. So please give us your feedback. We love to hear from you. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And, let us know what you think. We're trying to get as much information as we can out there and peel away the different pieces of the onion, if you will, till we try to get to the bottom of all this. Again, very, very sad situation. So please stay in touch. Most importantly, make it a great day. Extremely important, please take care of yourself and be safe out there. Thank you so much for watching. God bless.